What's up, guys? This is Brave, and I'm back with another review of Ready to Love. This is Season 7, Episode 4, and the episode is titled Advocate Sue. Let's go ahead and get right into it. So, first things first, we randomly see three guys going fishing. And I believe it was Blue, Mark Anthony, and Blake. I'm like, so where are the other guys? And next thing you know, Tommy shows up, and I think Tony may have arrived at some point. Nonetheless, Tommy shows up so that he can let them know that they're going to be having a yacht party. And after this yacht party, one of the ladies has to go home. And that was pretty much the gist of the conversation. But here's my thing. Where's the rest of the guys? So when did you tell Anthony this? When did Andre learn about it? This ain't made no sense to me. But let's go ahead and move on because we actually jumped into some dates before we got to the yacht party. First date we saw was Mark Anthony and Jeffrey. I did not expect for him to go for Jeffrey for some reason. I don't know. Something about her screams that she would want an older man. And when I look at him, I just don't see it for them two. Nonetheless, he takes her on a bull riding, like a mechanical bull date. And, I guess that was fun for them. But when it came to their conversation, he happened to ask her, what was she looking for? And she's like, I'm looking for a provider, a leader, a protector, all these things, because she is such a nurturer and a giver. That's something that she needs reciprocated back. I'm like, those two things are not reciprocation, but I see what you're trying to say here. So, of course, she brings up the fact that she's a mom and her kids are her life. And what would that look like for him coming into the situation, because the kids ain't going nowhere. So he lets us know that he actually came from a blended family, and he says that he's absolutely fine with it. But I feel like there was still a little bit of hesitation when it came to the situation, because he has never, dated anyone with kids before. So this would definitely be new territory for him. Now, after the date, Jeffrey feels like she's ready for the second date with him. She really likes him. As for him, on the other hand, he doesn't exactly know, because there are also women here who don't have children that are an option for him. And another thing is that he said that he wants to have children of his own as well. I'm not sure if Jeffrey wants to have more children, because I think she already has 3 kids. Yeah, she never said if she wanted to have more or not. So we'll see where that actually goes. Now let's hop on over to Blue and Marcia, because they go out to lunch or something like that. And we learned that baby girl don't like nothing outdoors. She started listing off stuff what she don't like. And he's like, wait, what about fishing? And she's like, yeah, I don't see why men even like to fish. And he's like, because you're around nature, all this stuff. She hates nature. But I'm like, girl, you was just laid out on the beach on the last episode. So what's going on here? Nonetheless, according to Blue, he feels like, Marcia, you can talk to her about any topic. She has no filter. However, the things that she likes and don't like seem like a red flag to him, because, baby girl was on a roll with the things that she didn't like. And then she even mentioned how she always told herself she wouldn't date a man with kids, talking about don't try to complicate your life. Now, I don't know if that line was in regards to the kids, but I think after this date, baby girl has definitely moved into the friend zone for him, because I don't see how they would even have anything in common. Like, they may be cool, but she doesn't like any of the things that he likes at all. So I think that he may be able to find somebody else that piques his interest rather than her. Now, y'all, it's time for the yacht party. Tommy has these people gathered outside waiting to get on the boat. And before they get on, he has to let them know, somebody's missing. And who is that? Andre. Andre, he actually tested positive for C-19. And he decided that he wasn't going to move forward with the process. So Andre has left the building. And I'm kind of confused, because I get it. You were sick. You could have definitely just waited it out. How many ever days that you have to wait it out nowadays? I think it's 4 or 5 days. And you could have still been in the competition. You could have still been texting the ladies, calling the ladies if you weren't feeling, too bad. I just find it real interesting that he happened to test positive conveniently. I feel like he realized that he was interested in 2 women who both had children. And then he realized, maybe I don't want to be a stepdaddy. Y'all think so? Let me know what y'all think about Andre deciding that he wasn't going to be in the competition anymore. So let's go ahead and get on this boat. Now, of course, Cynthia as well as Jeffrey were feeling some type of way about Andre leaving, but baby, that did not stop Cynthia from talking to a new man, and that was Anthony. I said, finally we see Anthony. We have not seen him since episode 1. So they're sitting down, they're talking about how they both have kids and how they make their children their priority, and they were actually vibing together. They liked each other. And I honestly see that this might work out for them because they both understand what it's like to date with children. And I feel like the idea of having a blended family, it ain't a bad one. I like the idea. So fingers crossed we will see them on another date. Now, after that, of course, you have the montage of different people talking and chit-chatting. At one point, you see Jeffrey. She is all wrapped up into Mark Anthony. And I'm like, girl, let's be honest. You like Mark Anthony. You are not giving, what's that guy, DeMario, any time of day here. So at one point, we actually see Blake. He has a bag in his hand. He ends up pulling Susu away from whoever she was talking to. And he's like, you really went above and beyond for me, so I have something for you. So he ends up giving her, I want to say it was a bracelet or whatever. She didn't expect it. And I can't lie. I was like, okay, at least we're seeing something from Blake. Because let's be honest, Blake has not been giving anything this past couple of episodes. We have all wanted Blake to go home at some point. And I'm like, at least he's doing something. He's still an awkward man, but at least he's showing something. Because if I want to be honest, I feel like a lot of the guys here are not really putting in any effort to show these ladies that they're actually interested in them. Because we're so early in the season, but the process moves very fast. So even though I don't really mess with Blake like that, I understand that he was probably trying to keep her in his pocket because he ain't got nobody else on his side. But I appreciate the gesture because let's be honest, a lot of these guys are lacking when it comes to actually showing these women that they're interested in them. And we're going to talk about a few. And let's go ahead and start with Tony because he's having a conversation with Morgan. And honestly, I feel like I didn't learn nothing new about Tony. I will say when Cynthia hit them shoulder shimmy move and was like, he just do a lot of talking about nothing, she ain't lied because I ain't learned nothing about Tony besides the fact that he's this prayer warrior, God-fearing man. That's all we've learned about him. So the fact that at one point Morgan was like, yeah, you're husband material. I said, girl, where? Where do you see husband material in this man? I'm sorry, but I really do not feel like there are many connections on this show. The people who I thought were connecting, they have changed their minds. I don't know what's happening this season. Well, actually, I feel like every season is getting worse and worse, but we still rock with it. What is happening? Nonetheless, this man is over here talking about I'm looking for an easy flow when it comes to a relationship. And I'm just like, sir, the relationship should not be that easy, okay? I feel like what you mean by you want it to be easy is you don't want to have to do no work. You don't want to have to put in no effort to make anything happen. You want to give this woman the bare minimum and feel like she should accept that. But you know what? Let me just go ahead and move along. Now let's talk about this game that they decided to play that was left on the boat for them. The first question was to Corvea, who she thought was the best kisser, and she says DeMario. Now, of course, she's going to say that because that is who she's interested in at this point, because nobody else is giving Corvea the time of day. Now, I can't lie, coming into this, I actually thought that a lot of guys would have been on her, but clearly she has turned a lot of them off. Now, next question. I believe it was to Mark Anthony, and I can't even remember what the question was. All I know is that he ended up rubbing Jeffrey's feet, or at least he attempted to, and he also rubbed Mercedes' feet. Baby, if I was Mercedes, I would have said, oh, what you not gonna do is take those same hands that you just put on her nasty feet to come put them on mine. No thank you, sir. And actually, speaking of Mercedes, I feel like we hardly even saw her this past episode. Like, it seemed like it wasn't nobody talking to her. And I don't see why, because Mercedes, to me, is one of my favorite ladies this season, unless proven otherwise. Now here comes Morgan with the question, who are the three prettiest people or the most beautiful people, whatever. And first of all, she said Lyndon. I said, girl, you's a lie. I'm sorry, I just do not see it for Lyndon. So she lists Lyndon, Marcia, and herself. I said, girl, you just really about to make Tony feel some type of way, huh? The fact that she gave him that energy, like, oh yeah, because you decided that you weren't going to put in any effort, I'm not going to mention you right now. Okay, Morgan, I see your energy. I like it. Because this is definitely going to make Tony feel like he needs to put in some effort. All right, so it's Jeffrey's turn. And her question was, what does she have to do? Oh, she had to give her strongest connection a kiss, right? So here's the thing. You can't go around kissing two people. So she had to make a choice. And of course, she chose Mark Anthony. Baby, DeMario has some feelings. DeMario felt some type of way. He's like, how dare you kiss another man in my face? And it's like, boy, get out of here. Let's be honest. You was not really interested in Jeffrey. You was trying to, lock somebody else in because you figured if I get Carvana and I get somebody else, there's more chances for me to stay. Because honestly, ain't nobody really checking for DeMario either. You know what? This season, it's a lot of people who really ain't checking for nobody. Like, for real. I feel like a lot of people are just around, but we don't really see them really engaging in conversation or even showing that there's potential with other people. And DeMario is one of them. So, I see why him and Carvana are trying to get something together. So, his little feelings was hurt. And I will say this, though, about Jeffrey, because now she's in the confessional talking about how, she just gravitates towards Mark Anthony and blah, blah. I'm like, girl, it's funny how you got all this to say because let's be honest, had Andre and his little tendrum still been there, she probably would have been all up on him. But you know what? Let's go ahead and move along. Now, y'all, this was a very short clip, but I feel like it speaks volumes. So there was a little clip of Morgan talking to Lyndon or whatever, and she was doing a majority of the talking. And I'm just like, Lyndon is really skating by. He is another one who I just don't see it for. And it's because we have learned nothing about this man. Like, I'm sorry. I just feel like in the earlier seasons of Ready to Love, we knew a little bit more about these people. Either that or we need to go ahead and bring back that prequel episode where they would give us the rundown of each person. Because I feel like I just do not know these people. So I feel like when I'm actually reviewing this show, it makes it seem like I hate every person. But I promise that's not the case. It's just like they're not showcasing anything. Like, we see them talking, but they ain't talking about nothing. Now, let's just go ahead and move on to Carvana and DeMario. So, I will say this. When I saw them talking to each other and the way they were looking at each other, it did actually seem like they were into each other. I will give them that. And then I also like the fact that we learned a bit more about them. Now, I will say, Carvana does not seem to be as materialistic when it comes to her having a conversation with DeMario, because they both kind of open up about their family and why they love their family so much. We learned that DeMario has a great relationship with his father, which is amazing. We love to see a black man have a great relationship with their dad. And he talks about how, he wants to live up to the man that his dad has basically set the standard to be. And then you also have Carvana talking about how, her parents, they didn't come from money. She didn't grow up rich or anything. So I feel like that is something that we definitely learned about her that shows us why she is the way she is. The reason why she's like, a guy has to have her own place, because when she was younger, her mom I don't know if her mom put her out or her mom was just like, listen, you're grown now. You need to step out on your own 2 feet. She didn't go into depth as far as if it was like her mom throwing her out or not. But, she appreciates her mom for doing it because it showed her that she could be independent and she could do things on her own. And the fact that she didn't grow up with money, I see why now a lot of the things that she says, it does sound like she is a materialistic woman because she wants nice things. She wants the finer things out of life because growing up, she didn't have it. So she's like, now that I'm at an adult age and I can make the right decisions to live my life how I want to, make enough money that I can afford a certain lifestyle, I'm not stepping down. So I said, you know what? This made me see another side of Carvana, way past what I saw in the previous episodes. Now let's go ahead and move along. So we saw these small clips of Susu talking to Anthony. I said, you know, it's crazy because those two don't really get that much camera time. I think this episode was the most that we have seen them. And whatever. Then we saw Morgan talking to Lyndon again. And these two are over here toasting because they're sitting together. Goodbye. Now let's go ahead and move on to Blake, y'all. Blake rolls up on Jeffrey because he has to get some things off his chest. So he pulls her away from Mark Anthony. They go upstairs. And this was the weirdest conversation I think I've witnessed on this show. Just about, the weirdest. Because he's like, well, I just want to talk to you because I heard some things that you said about me. And she's like, okay, well, tell me what you've heard. I think that the reason why he did not want to tell her what exactly he heard was because he did not want to throw Susu under the bus. Follow me here. I know we don't like Blake, that's fine. But I just think that he knew that if he was to say, well, when I went out with Sue Ellen, she let me know that you told her that I only wanted to be with you, blase, blase, blah. So she didn't want to talk to Blake. She kind of shut him down because the conversation was nowhere. She absolutely knew exactly what he was talking about. But I honestly think in this situation, both of them could be having some truths and some lies. Because they both kind of were upset. Like, he was upset because she told all these things to the women. But I feel like she was upset afterwards because he confronted her about it. Like, I don't think that she thought that Susu was going to tell everything that happened in the lounge. Because y'all know Tommy usually says whatever is said in the lounge shouldn't be repeated outside of the lounge. You know what I'm saying? But nonetheless, Jeffrey basically shut it down because there was nothing to talk about because he didn't want to say exactly what it was. So she goes downstairs. And this is when I knew exactly that she knew who told him what happened. Because let's be honest here. After deliberations, they all have to decide, I think, who is going to take this person out on the date to tell them that they're either going to stay or go. So she definitely knew that it was Susu who took him out the last time when they were like, if Blake was going to stay or go home for eliminations. So she goes directly to Susu and Demario. And she's over here talking about what happened with Blake. And I'm like, I see what you're doing here. You about to go ahead and let Susu know that you know that she the one who said it without directly saying it. I get it. Jeffrey is playing the game. So Jeffrey is over here going off about what happened with Blake. She's like, yeah, because he's basically getting caught up. And Sue and Demario are like, caught up in what? Like, what are you talking about? And they were confused. And she was like, you know, that he's so strategic and how he's already said that he's picked his woman. So, like, if he's complimenting you, then it's not coming from a genuine place. And she's looking dead at Susu. I said, girl, Jeffrey is really trying to give Susu the business. Like, girl, even if he do compliment you, he still got his mind on me. I can't. I cannot. So at this point, this is kind of where I was giving Jeffrey the side eye. Because she says, I have no issue with you saying that I'm your one, I'm your person. But I draw the line when you're not going to be authentic with these other women. Excuse me? That is not what you was telling everybody else. Because the way she told those ladies about Blake, it was not coming from the place of, oh my gosh, ladies, let me just tell you, he is not being genuine. I don't want him to go around pretending like he likes some of you guys and really hurting your feelings. I don't want that to be the case since he chose me. No, you came in there and was like, let me tell y'all about Blake because he ain't really checking for y'all. He only checking for me. He said, I'm his girl. He texts me and called me all day trying to figure out who I'm checking on, what time I'm getting home. Like, it was kind of braggadocious. If we really want to call a thing a thing. I feel like maybe her and Blake have had a conversation and it went south. So now she feels like Blake gotta go. I don't know. Like, there's something off about this entire situation. Now, I'm not saying that Blake is telling the truth. I feel like there's some truth in him saying that, yeah, I have an interest in you. But the way he moving and the way that they haven't even spoken to each other in the past 4 episodes, there's no way you gonna sit up here and tell me that her and Blake has something going on. So let me get back to the situation at hand. Susu, she pipes up and says, are you sure you're interpreting that correctly? Because when I talk to the man and, she brings up what you told her in the lounge, that he didn't say that to you. He didn't say anything like that to you. So here goes Jeffrey Air confessional. She literally is like, so here comes Sue Ellen with her cape advocating for Blake. I can't lie. I did laugh at that part. But again, what else was she supposed to do? If she's interested in that man, of course, she's going to try to keep him around and see what you talking about. So let's not sit up here and play this game, because had it been one of the guys that you were interested in, you would probably do the same thing. All right, now at this point, the ladies are going back and forth, and I can't lie, there was at some points, Jeffrey's real voice was peeking out. I'm like, girl, could you keep the real voice? Because I cannot stand the way she talks. Now, here's the funny part. You have the cameraman panning on DeMario as the ladies are bickering. And at one point, Jeffrey kind of made it seem like she was talking directly to DeMario because she no longer wanted to talk to Susu. Girl, DeMario ain't interested in you no more. You come with too much drama. I said, Jeffrey, you played yourself. Why did you even have this conversation in front of DeMario? Because it's bad enough you done kissed Mark Anthony and hurt his little feelings. You done got your foot rubbed by Mark Anthony. You done avoided DeMario this whole time. Instead of you going over there, pulling DeMario away from Susu and being like, let me go ahead and have a conversation with you because I ain't seen you all day. Instead of you doing that, you decided to embark on this back and forth with Susu so that you can let her know that you knew that she the one who told Blake. Now let's go ahead and move along. Y'all, why is it that whenever Tommy comes in, he has to let this group know over and over how they need to be clapping and wooing and eyeing because he stepped in the building? Because I feel like there has been on every episode, he walks in, they're practically silent. You may get 3 hand claps, and he's like, all right now, y'all. I'm here. And then they decide to cheer. I said, did they not get the memo? That whenever Tommy hits the scene, y'all need to act like y'all are cheering at a concert. Okay? Nonetheless, he grabs the guys because we got to figure out what lady is going home. All right, of course, we got to go through who the ladies are feeling. Who the fellas are feeling. And first we got Lyndon. He says Morgan. I was like, yeah, because she was all up on you this episode. I feel like we saw so many clips of them talking to each other. And I can bet y'all she didn't learn nothing new about that man the same way we haven't. But let's go ahead and move on. Now, Mark Anthony, he says that he's feeling Jeffrey. You have Anthony, he says he's feeling Cynthia. Blake, of course, he says he's going with Susu because who else is even giving him the time of day? Now we get to DeMario. He says Corvea, and that's because another one. Who else is giving him the time of day? But I do kind of think that they match each other's energy. So we get to Tony. Of course, he says Marcia. He did not mention Morgan. Oh, I forgot to even talk about this because he said Jonique and how she cried on his shoulder. Did she? Because you didn't even offer her your shoulder to cry on or a tissue. I'm sorry. Jonique was over there explaining how, she was with somebody before and she was ready for the next step, but they told her that they weren't ready. So, of course, she became single after that, and she breaks down how when you've been single for a long time, then you start to feel like, you're going to be single for forever. And you just want to find your person. You want to be loved. All these things. And as she does cry, because she did cry, like Tony just kind of sat there. And like his response was very, I don't understand how you feeling, Ma. I understand. Like, you got me feeling all mushy now. I said, what? First off, I'm sorry, that was a terrible New York accent, but that's how Tony sounds to me. I just feel like you could have at least held her, grabbed her hands, let her know that, love is out there or something. Like, he was just kind of there. It was like, all right, we got to go get some fresh air. What? What did I watch? You know what? Let's just go ahead and move back into the elimination round. The last man was Blue. Blue said that he was feeling Jonique. Now, I want to see them go on a date. Like, I just want to see what that matchup may look like, because Jonique is still kind of young. She still wants to go out, have a good time. But, Blue is super, laid back and chill. So maybe they might balance each other out. I don't know. I want to see what that looks like. Now, let's get to who they're not feeling, okay? First things first. The first lady we talk about is Marcia. You had Mark Anthony, Blue, and who else mentioned her? Oh, it was DeMario. They all are not feeling Marcia. They kind of friend zone her. Like, she cool to talk to. She's good peoples, but they are not interested in dating her. Now, here we have Anthony, Blake, and DeMario. They are not feeling Jeffrey. Of course, DeMario wasn't feeling her because he was like, you kissed that other man in front of me, you're dead to me. So that's where he's at. You already knew Blake was going to vote her out after the whole situation happened with him. So I already knew it, that she was going to be on the chopping block. Now, we have Mark Anthony. He mentioned that he wasn't feeling Jonique. This is the second time that Mark Anthony has mentioned that he is not feeling Jonique. Here is my thing. You don't have a connection with Jonique. That's fine. But I don't think you have to mention her. Like, you didn't even have to throw her in the pot because you already said that you weren't feeling somebody else. So it's fine if you only mention one person. Nonetheless, I feel like, and I'm going to be honest, y'all, I feel like Mark Anthony does not like Jonique because Jonique is probably deemed as ghetto to him. Because the way she talks, the way she carries herself, she got the baby hair. Y'all know what I'm saying. Like, I feel like he probably looks at her and was like, she's a ghetto girl. I don't want that. I'm sorry. That's just how I see Mark Anthony. I see him being that type of person. Now, to me, like I said, Jonique is probably one of my favorite girls here. It's her, and I really like Mercedes. I like Jonique because she came in with her real voice. She came in dressed how she dresses, talking how she talks, being authentically herself. Like, I feel like out of all the girls who are here, she's one of the only ones who is genuinely being authentically herself. Like, yes, you're going to get me with the baby hairs. Yes, you're going to get me. I'm about to dress cute. Yes, I got some curves. And you're going to accept it. All right, now let's get to the last name that was mentioned. And that was Corvea. So first you have Blue. He says, sometimes she talks before she thinks. And I was like, okay, what kind of conversations have you had with her? And then we have, of course, Lyndon. Lyndon says Corvea, he has been gunning for Corvea since he met this girl, and she basically called him broke because he got a roommate. Now, I will say this. Lyndon got his nerve to say that he feels like Corvea has only shown her representative, and he doesn't feel like he's met Corvea yet. When, sir, we still don't know nothing about you besides the fact that you are a bartender and you have a roommate. So I feel like you should really be one of the last people talking about people showing a representative and not, being open with everything that they have to say. Because what have we learned about you? When have you been so vulnerable, the word that you like to throw around? And now y'all know, Corvea is not my favorite person, especially after Fabrice had called her out last episode. Because I can't lie, what he was calling out about Corvea, it still was true, but I've seen another side of Corvea. She's only going to open up to who she's interested in. Why would I be telling any and everybody anything about my personal life when I don't plan on dating you? Now, as for Lyndon, I would like to see him open up to somebody that he's been interested in, because we see you having all these chit chats with Morgan. Again, ain't nothing happening with y'all. All right, so then you have Anthony chiming in talking about some, oh, I'm going to throw in Corvea because I don't like what I'm hearing around. Sir, you don't even know her. Like, I promise, I'm not trying to cape for these random people, but I feel like you can't sit up here and throw somebody in the pot because you haven't had a conversation with them to know what was true and what wasn't true. Like, that's like judging somebody off of hearsay. So I kind of gave him a side eye for that. All right, so now the guys got to figure out who's going home. Ooh, well, this got intense because you have three guys, well, not three guys, but there are guys who are there who are interested in certain ladies. Now, as we already know, when it comes to Marcia, who was interested in her? Tony. Tony was interested in her. And then, of course, DeMario's interested in Corvea. And then as far as Jeffrey goes, Mark Anthony is interested in her. All right, cool. So since these people are on the chopping block, it's, oh, we have this lifeline. Let's go ahead and use it. Or at least that's how DeMario thinks. And everybody's like, no, because it might be later down the line, you may want to use this lifeline. I personally think that this is too early to use a lifeline. I think that y'all should go ahead and send somebody else home. Because at the end of the day, it's not like y'all have to cut off communication from who you were possibly talking to. That is one thing that is not a rule on this show. There is no rule that says that you have to cut off communication with the person that was put in the bottom. I mean, who was sent home. You can still talk to Corvea and DeMario. It's fine. Because maybe at that point, you will decide that it's time for you to up and leave. And then y'all can go ahead and leave the show. Now, I understand that the moral of the story is usually to keep couples, but at the same time, if you think that's your person and they're being sent home because nobody else likes them but you, just go ahead and go home with them, because ain't nobody else checking for DeMario. Like, I'm just thinking, as far as the guys that are still there, ain't nobody checking for DeMario. But I think that next week, they're going to probably try to get rid of Blake first. Oh, one thing I wanted to mention about them talking about that stupid lifeline. Now, y'all, am I the only one who noticed that Mark Anthony, oh, I hate his name because there's two of them. He had a whole different energy when they were arguing about this stupid lifeline. Like, he was like cursing. He was like, because if it's another shorty further down the line that you might like. I said, a shorty? Oh, okay. I feel like you act like a whole other person outside of this. You are definitely giving us the clean-cut guy, the nice guy, but behind closed doors, you might be somebody else. Y'all, let me know what y'all thought about Mark Anthony when it came to him, changing personalities on us. But like I said, this show actually ended on a cliffhanger because they called up all three ladies. They let Tony do it. Oh, God. And he basically told them how the guys felt about them. Now, that was where the episode left off. Now, I will say in the clip for next week, I feel like I saw Jeffrey. So she's still going to be there. Not really sure about Marcia or Corvea, but we shall see next week. Let me know what y'all thought about this episode. Go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. And I'll talk to y'all on the next one. Bye, guys.